For more than a decade, the BGK family has been a champion of dreams. It's the dreams of those who work for a better tomorrow that drive us to reach our greatest potential. We are here to support our kingdom partners, their families, their ministries, and our communities.
BGK 24/7 Online Christian TV Network. Making what was once impossible, possible.
Hi, it's me, Dr. Sonia Stinson, and you are listening to Dinner Table Conversations on the Rural Channel, hosted by our partners, BGK. As you know, I like to get the housekeeping out the way because I want to give our guests plenty of time to expound on some of the things and the journeys that they have been going through. So, housekeeping, if you have not, download our mobile app. We have a mobile app. Just go to any Google or Apple store and download our BGK mobile app, and you can catch us on the go. And guess what? We have a new YouTube channel. Any shows that you may have missed, you want to review, you want to go back and see some of your favorite authors or individuals, just go subscribe to our new BGK TV YouTube, and you can catch any show. I want you to remember that if you're ready to up-level your ministry, up-level your business, up-level your entrepreneurship, just give me a call at 1-866-200-9850. Now, I am so happy. I want to just present this topic because it's been so dear to my heart. And what you will know about me is that in my first marriage, I had a child that is affected by this, but because I was so young and did not understand what was going on, there are a lot of mistakes that were made. But today, I am so happy to have this woman of God in the studio. She's a family friend. She is a sister, and I mean, she's a fashionista. I just love her dearly. Let me introduce you to Debra Vine. God bless you, woman of God, and thank you for coming in. Good morning. God impressed upon me this topic because we are family and we are often together, family gatherings during COVID-19. We haven't been able to, but usually when we're together, we're all at the big house, as we call it. And God impressed upon me today on this show to talk about autism, especially since we're beginning in Chicago, when Chicago, Illinois are going back to school, but also especially because this particular developmental illness is so misunderstood. And I know that you are a champion of it. You have a son. I did not know until recently I read your bio that you were a widow. But you have mastered this, and I mean you're just a spokesperson. So tell us a little bit about the answer, and tell us about what is autism. What is that? How do we define that?
Okay, well, I'll start out firstly by saying thank you so much for having me on your amazing show, Dr. Stinson. I am so elated to be here. Secondly, I'm Debra Vine, CEO of the Answer Incorporated Autism Awareness and Support Agency, and our mission is to support families impacted by autism by way of support, resources, education, recreation, and advocacy, not just for families impacted by autism, but developmental differences across the board, because a lot of our families are impacted dually by autism and maybe Down syndrome and a learning disability, autism and another disability. So we want to be able to provide those services for all the families that come our way that we can help. The definition of autism, in layman's terms, is autism is a developmental disorder that impacts socialization and behavior. And it's a spectrum that ranges from mild to severe. So you might have some individuals with autism on the low end of the spectrum that don't understand how to cross the street, that have limited executive functionings as it relates to speech or just being able to follow simple directions. And then you might have someone that's in the middle of the spectrum that can follow simple directions but doesn't understand the concept of danger. And then you have the ones that are on the high end of the spectrum that can actually drive cars and have relationships, but their socialization is just a little bit off. So that's why the spectrum is so wide, and it's still to this day being researched, and why the individuals act the way they do, or being able to retain things the way they are. And my son Jason just amazes me every single day. He's actually the
Yes.
reason in the season why
Yes.
I'm doing.
Yes.
God has
Yes.
commissioned me, and I'm going to say God commissioned me because this is not anything that was in my
Yes.
plan. God bless me, bless my husband, my late husband, and I with Jason, and he was actually a 24-week baby. He was a
Mm-hmm.
preemie at 6 months, and so we didn't know what to do with a little bitty baby. We thought that everything was just going to be fine, and he was just going to be a little bit developmentally challenged. But as
Mm-hmm.
the time went on, he wasn't meeting the benchmarks that he was supposed to meet, like crawling on time, talking on time, things like that. And mind you,
Mm-hmm.
this was 32 years ago, where the statistics were 1 in 1,000 of
Wow.
persons diagnosed with autism. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they told us, we took him back and forth to the doctor when he wasn't meeting his benchmarks. And one doctor actually gave us the diagnosis of autism. And
Mm-hmm.
so being the mommy bear that I am, I went into just overload. I went into just, okay, I got to help my son. I got to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
to no avail, in my community, there were no resources for me and my husband
Mm-hmm.
or my son. We had to go way out of our community just to even be able to find the
Wow.
supportive services, or
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get some services for us. It was out
Mm-hmm.
of our financial realm. We couldn't afford it. So guess what?
Wow.
Jason ended up sliding in the back of the line
Oh
of
my
getting
goodness.
services for a person with autism. I mean, I did the
Mm-hmm.
best that I knew how, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a professional. So I just went
Mm-hmm.
into mommy mode. And when he got out of school, I had school again at home. Now Jason is still
Mm-hmm.
doing much better than the doctors had ever imagined. He
Mm-hmm.
still has limited language, but he understands a lot of things that's going on around him. And
Mm-hmm.
praises be to God, with us starting the agency, and being able to connect with other moms. I've gotten better as a mom and as an advocate, just being able to help people. So I think one of the things that's missing in our community, Dr. Stinson, is um, that shame, blame, guilt in the Black
Okay.
community. We
And so
don't, we don't, yeah,
what do you
yeah,
mean by that? Because I mean, because autism, and I have a couple of people again, but in my first marriage, they call it cerebral palsy and everything. And so I missed the mark with my first marriage because again, there was not a resource. And then I married into someone that had it and things like that. And so a lot of resources passed me by even as a young age. And then just reading and researching autism, it can start even when they're 12 months or thing that mothers or parents notice that they are experiencing some delays in their developmental.
mhm,
But in the African American community, just as you said, Deborah, the resources were not there years ago. And here we are 33 years later. And I've talked with parents even today that they've had to even struggle with the resources and the cost of being able to ensure that your child is able to get the attention that they need for this undiagnosed and this particular disorder that does not have a cure. And so with Jason, and I'm around Jason, you're right. Jason's doing better than most to it, but because you were proactive in it. But
right.
what do we say to parents that are not even that how does autism happen? Has there been any research in the womb? Does it start from the womb? Where does it come from? Is it hereditary? Is how Has any research been there?
You know, um, I haven't read much about where it comes from, how it started. It's multiple theories as it relates to the autism and how it's actually contracted or how a person gets it. I've done
Hmm.
multiple forms of research, but I'm gonna tell you, I really don't get into how a person
Hmm.
gets autism a lot because I just
Hmm.
want to be able to help the families get through
Right,
the journey from
right,
beginning to until they feel like
right.
they're strong enough to actually help someone
Hmm.
else. So I leave that to the
Hmm.
doctors.
Right. And when you advocate for parents, when when that child is first diagnosed, what are you seeing in the parents besides, is there fear, uncertainty? What are you seeing in parents? Um,
Oh, it's a plethora of emotions. The main one is I would say denial.
okay.
The first thing is denial because I get so many phone calls from family members. Like for instance, a lot of aunts call, a lot of grandmothers call, and they'll say, "My grandchild is not doing this. My nephew is not doing that. Could you please call?" And I used to just put my Superwoman cape on and call and say, "You know what? My name is Debra Vines. I'm da 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 da, and I want to help you." But now what happens is when families do call, they're asking a lot of questions and then they don't follow through. See, follow through
Oh,
is the key to everything. They don't follow
okay.
through. I mean, I give the instructions, I give the resources on
Mm-hmm.
what to do, how to do it, where to go. I give them multiple action items. And a lot of families, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hey, Jason to be 33 in September, and it's still work. I mean,
Wow.
it's
Mm-hmm.
constant work. A lot of parents have multiple children, so they can't really
Mm-hmm.
focus on that one with the autism because they take up more time. So the main thing that I really just try to expound upon the families is always take care of yourself. Be mindful of yourself because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of your kid. But
Mm-hmm.
get as many resources as possible. Don't just stick to one resource. Get resources all over the city of Chicago, not just for
Wow.
your child, but for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Get into a support group. That's the first thing that I advise a parent to do is get into a support
Mm-hmm.
group. And then
Mm-hmm.
if your child is having behavior problems, get some behavior therapy. See, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a cure for autism, Dr. Stinson, but there's so many therapies out there: speech therapy, occupational therapy, behavior therapy, play therapy, music therapy. All of those things help to create your child to be better so
Mm-hmm.
that, for instance, you haven't been able to take them to the store. You could take them to
Mm-hmm.
the store because you've taught them how to wait in line. Right now, I'm
Right.
working with Jason on answering the telephone. I just got him a telephone. So now when I
Mm-hmm.
want to like come to my office for a few hours and I want to call him and check on him and see what he's doing, at least if he answers the phone, although he has limited language and conversation, but if he answers their phone, I know that he's okay. So like I said, it's just constant tasks that you have to always challenge yourself as a parent and challenge
Mm-hmm.
your child to get better.
And so when I think about myself in the third grade, my challenge was speech therapy. Now we call it autism. And my parents, my mother was and my father was so concerned that they sent me to speech therapy. And I tell people all the time, sometimes I struggle. I said, no, I see the word, but I can't pronounce it because I'm struggling to learn how to do the tongue in the back and things like that. But my parents, and so they didn't call it autism. Again, in my book, it just called me a dumb child, okay? Because I couldn't
See?
speak right and I couldn't, but that was years ago, 50 years or 54 plus years ago, where autism, especially in the African American community, you was just a dumb child. And so, but my
Exactly.
parents did
They
not,
use
my,
retarded.
you're right,
They
you
use the word
retarded,
retarded. They use the word dumb.
things
Yeah,
like right? You were dumb. And so that's what my third grade teacher told my mother. And my mother said, no, she's not. She's just
that's right.
struggling with a speech. And how do I get my child help? Now, mind you, I come from a family of 12. So now you have this one child. I'm a twin, and I'm the one lagging behind the twin who went on to the fourth and fifth grade where I'm struggling with autism now that we identified because I could not speak. Okay, I could not pronounce words. I saw words backwards, and when they recognized for me personally, my parents says, "Well, what can I do?" So for probably 8 years of my life, I went to a speech therapist because I could not speak. Well, now you look at me 50 plus years later, I'm talking on the radio, but not because my teachers were concerned, but because my parents
That's
followed
right.
through. And as much as I hated to go to speech therapy while my sisters and brothers sat at home, I had to go to speech therapy. And so when I did my research before the show on autism, I said, okay, so they just called me a dumb child, but there was a form of autism there. Communication is a form of autism. I had trouble communicating, but again, they didn't identify it. And so you talked about that parent support and that parent that have other kids, but somehow a parent has to recognize this child needs special attention. So with Jason, and I did put a picture of Jason up there. He's now 33 or will be. With Jason, he's doing a lot better. What are some of the successes that you can share with us, if you will, how you got Jason to do some of the things that he's doing now independently?
The first thing that I did is I didn't treat him like he had any autism. I have conversations with him, even though he doesn't say anything back to me. Even when I bring him around our family, he just
Mm-hmm,
blends right in. And I think that's
mm-hmm,
one of the main mistakes that a lot of parents make. They, because I hear a lot of my parents, they talk to their grown children like, come on over, come on, like they 2 years old. Look, come on, Jason, let's go. Let's
mm-hmm,
go. Let's do it. I mean, he has chores that he has to do. He makes a
mm-hmm,
bed better than anybody I know because it's
mm-hmm,
consistency. You have to give them things to do, and you have to
mm-hmm,
make them feel like it's nothing going on any different. It might take him a little bit longer to do something, but Jason has chores. He has to sweep. He has to empty the garbage. He has to do schoolwork still, even though he's 33 years old. He's still working on writing his name and things like that. When Jason aged out of school at 22 years old, he did not have letter recognition, name recognition, number recognition. So we created a program for the Answer Incorporated called Spectrum University. And
okay.
now Jason can write his name freehand. He
Mm-hmm,
can count to like 100. He knows the concept of money. He doesn't
mm-hmm,
know a lot about it, but he knows a little bit about the concept of money. So again, going back to your question, it's consistency, Dr. Stenson. It's
mm-hmm.
consistency. You cannot rest on your child. You can't. You have to
Wow,
always have a chore for them to do. And Jason didn't tie his shoes until he was 8 years old. But
wow,
we just kept at it. We just kept at it. We kept at it. He didn't learn how to wash a dish properly until he was maybe 10. Now we're
wow.
working on ironing because I asked God to let me live to be 100 years old, healthy.
Yes,
But
yes. Well,
God might call me home tomorrow. But I want
right.
Jason to have all of those self-help skills mastered. So whoever's helping taking care of him, he won't be so much of a burden to
Wow,
anybody helping them because
wow.
that's where the abuse comes in. When you have a child or an adult that has a lot of
Mm,
behavior problems, and I know that my son gets on my nerves sometimes. I'm not gonna
mhm,
ever abuse him, but he's mine. But when
mhm,
you send children to Silla homes and send them to day programs and send them to school and they have behavior problems, it's harder for the educator to teach them anything.
mhm,
So again, it goes back to parenting. That's why
mhm,
I'm so big on support groups so that we can give the parents the skill sets that they need to be better parents, the referrals that they need to be better parents,
mhm.
the resources that they need to be better parents.
Wow. Listen, you're listening to Dinner Table Conversations with Apostle Dr. Stinson, and it is on the Real Channel hosted by our partners, BGK Network. You can download our app. Our mobile app is very important that you download it right now. Stop what you're doing, and download the app from any Google or Apple store. To get in touch with me, call me at 81866 200-9850. Email me, Sonia Stinson Ministries at gmail.com, or connect with me through my Facebook. Remember, if you miss any of our shows, you can also subscribe to our new BGK YouTube channel. We want to build our subscriptions, and if you miss anything, you want to just go there. We are talking about a very difficult, oftentimes, topic on autism, and I wanted to bring this because as we begin to look at it, especially in the African American community, and Deborah Vine said something so profound. What she said is that a lot of times we are, as African Americans, we are embarrassed. We want to sweep it under the rug. It's almost we go into a woe is me and to a pity party. We get ashamed as African Americans because we have a child with autism instead of being as proactive as Deborah has been with her child. And you said something before we took our break. You said something so profound, but I want them, before I get into this next conversation, how to get in touch with you, Deborah, because there's going to be people listening throughout the world, and they need to know how to get in touch with you as someone that's an expert on autism, having raising a child right now. So could you give me your website and phone number, how to get in touch with the answer?
Sure, sure. Our website is theanswerinc.org. That's TheAnswer, inc.org. And my phone number is 708-296-5651. We always answer the phone. That was one of the reasons why I started the agency, is because when we did realize that Jason was having problems, we tried many, many agencies until no prevail. No one answered the phone. We had to wait 2 or 3 days to get called back. So I made it my business to make sure that I answer the telephone whenever families call. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I answer the
Mhm,
phone because I want to make sure that we are that beacon of support for the family.
mhm.
So again, our website is theanswerinc.org, 708-296-5651.
Yeah, and your name is The Answer, your organization, nonprofit organization, always fundraising. So you can also look them up to give to this nonprofit, this wonderful cause, especially in African American community. But when you named it The Answer, what was behind that spiritual concept of the answer? Was it something within your spirit, or was it just something you said you were so denied?
It was definitely spirit led because, like I said, this was nothing that I wanted to do. God put it on my heart actually in 2003 to create
Hmm.
this platform, and we didn't even launch it until 2007. But I was talking to my husband, and I said, what are we going to call it? And I said, parents have so many questions. They have so many questions. So we want to provide the answers. So
Wow.
the answers are in it.
And then in the midst of you raising Jason, you are a widow, so now you find yourself by yourself with Jason, which sometimes you getting single mothers, divorced mothers. What support do you bring to that individual who's going through quite a bit? Now they're single or widow or husband or significant others not in, and now they find themselves with a child that's autistic. Because let's be honest, mothers are nurturers, and so we're not going to leave our child. Nothing against our men folks, but sometimes they cannot deal with a child with autism or any sick. And so I'm sure that you get a lot of single mothers who sometimes the father's not in the picture, and they're charged now with ensuring that their child is raised correctly. And you mentioned something earlier that, in case I don't live to 100, I don't want Jason to be a burden on my family. Can you answer a
Mhm.
little bit about that?
I've never been a single parent, never, and so this is
Mhm,
this is definitely something new for me. I was married for 35 years, and like I said, it's definitely something new. So, everything that happens to me as a parent and now as a widow, I want to do it to strengthen other families as well. So, one component that we're getting ready to start is grief and autism, because
right.
I want to be able to, and that's something that I'll probably end up bringing you in for
Okay.
counseling
Mhm,
with your
okay.
expertise as well. But a lot of parents are going through grieving the child that they wish that they had. See, I'm
Mhm,
telling you, God is birthing in me so many different topics outside of my husband passing away, and it's all centered around grief. Grief, you can grieve something, and it doesn't have to be dead. You can grieve a relationship. You can
yes.
grieve
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
grieve so many things. So how in answer to your question, how I'm getting through it is I'm still getting through it. I'm
Good.
getting through it
And you're
day by
admitting
day
that.
with
Yes. Mm-hmm.
love. I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
through it with love and support. my friends know that, and my sister, Charmaine, she knows that when I'm going through. But the good thing about friends and family is they don't let you stay in that place. You
Right.
can't stay there,
Right.
but you have to. And I tell parents that you have to go through the processes. You have to go through to get to. So
Right.
don't not allow yourself to grieve the fact that, okay, because sometimes I say, wow, I wish that Jason could give me some grandchildren. I do have two grandchildren because I have another son as well. But I wish, I look at him and I'll be like, oh my God, he's such a beautiful person. He would make such a wonderful husband. I grieve the
Well,
fact that I wish that, he could be something else, but
well,
it's the way it is.
that time is running out. So can you give them that information about getting in touch with you again, Deborah? It's
Okay,
been
yeah,
so
sure.
wonderful. Mhm.
Theanswerinc.org, and that's our website, www.theanswerinc.org, and our phone number is 708-296-5651. I want to thank you so much again for having me. I hope that I was able to answer all the questions.
Yeah.
Um,
God, yes. God bless you, Deborah. We're bringing Deborah back next week because we're going to talk about COVID-19 and autism. But right now, you are listening to Dinner Table Conversations with Apostle Stinson. Remember to buy my book, Vision Unleashed, Legacy Ignited. You can reach me at 1-866-200-9850. Download our mobile app so you don't miss any of our shows, especially this show. And I thank you for tuning in. You're listening to BGK Network. God bless you. See you next week.